Should I just go ahead and turn the comment section off now? Alright, I really didn't want to make this video, but I put my foot in my mouth and said I would make a video, and I'm not sure if I could talk about anything more controversial, except for maybe religion or Trump. Actually, wait a second. Alright, there we go. Now let's do this. Now first of all, before I start this video, I want you guys to know I'm not some money-hungry capitalist, that all I care about is myself, and that my debt's paid for, and screw you, and I don't care if your debt's paid for or not. That couldn't be further from the truth. But I did want to let you all know that I do have a lot of empathy for this. In fact, I spend a lot of my time, a majority of my time, helping people become financially free and avoid debt. In fact, in the past, I have coached hundreds of people for free on how to get out of debt and become financially free because I'm very passionate about this. So please don't think that I don't care at all, and because my wife and I are financially free and don't have any debt, that I'm saying screw you guys and I don't care about you. That's not the case. I want everybody to be financially free and happy, but I do not think that mass forgiveness of a certain type of loan is the answer for us as America and will teach us our lesson moving forward. Now, I do agree that the system is broken and that it should be maybe cheaper to go to school, although that could be argued. Remember, most colleges are a business, and businesses will charge whatever the customer is willing to pay and keep paying, and that's what we keep doing. We keep paying for this. Now, it is a little bit of a vicious circle because the government will keep lending the money to pay for it, and they really do lend probably too much money to young people. But again, that's our decision, and it's our job to educate ourselves and understand what we're borrowing for and if something is too expensive, and we really need to be sure of that. Also, I know that everybody's story has so many nuances and so many different backgrounds to it that's impossible to give one solution or one size fits all to this problem and make everybody happy and it be fair across the board. The population is way too big for us to go individual by individual, ask you your story, and decide whether or not your debt should be forgiven. Also understand that it's going to be subjective. The person listening to you may not relate with your story and therefore decide that your loan should not be forgiven. Okay, now let's get into the reasons why I think that debt forgiveness would be a bad idea. One of the main ones is I think that higher education is an investment. That it is something that should cost you money because you are investing in yourself and your future. Now, basic education grades 1 through 12, I do think that that should be free in quotes, because nothing's free. It will come at the cost of the taxpayer. But I do think that that should be provided to all citizens and will make a stronger country. But if you want to increase your education from there, level up your salary, or become a professional in this world in some certain type of field, that you probably are going to have to and need to pay for that. And that's what college is. Now, I know a lot of us, in fact, most of us were lied to when we were younger, and we were told that if we don't go to college, we'll never amount to anything. And there it goes. That's the problem with the entire system, right? Not just the loan, but the problem with the system. But it is true, or a statistic, that the average degree holder will earn $1 million more throughout their lifetime than somebody without a degree. And now a lot of you are asking to have that for free. You think that you should be given a position and earn $1 million more of your lifetime than someone who does not go to college, and that should just be given to you. I think that it's an investment in yourself, and it should be paid for because you are getting an ROI for it. It's not required to live or survive. It's something that you want for yourself that will better your life. Again, hear me out. It is not needed to survive. It is wanted so that you can have a better life for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just make sure you understand that it's a want and not a need. Now I'm going to get into a few examples that all debt forgiveness would benefit some that don't deserve it and would not benefit some that do. I used to have a moving company, so I've seen how college students live, both on the top end and on the bottom end. But I have moved kids that live in fancier places that I live in right now, and I know through conversation that they had student loans. They were also driving new Audis, Lexus, Mercedes while living on student loans. I have seen this with my own two eyes multiple times, so I know it exists. I'm not saying it's the majority, but I do see it. So let's just take an example. Brad goes off to college and takes a loan. He goes to a fancy college. He takes out the maximum amount of loan he can and the private loan, and he lives off all that for 4 years. Brad lives in a very nice apartment, and Brad drives a brand new BMW. Brad also doesn't work. Now you have Sally. Sally goes through community college for the first 2 years to save money, works a part-time job the entire time, and then Sally goes off to a local state college and she still continues to work part-time. She drives an old Honda that she paid for in cash from working her part-time job. She also lives with roommates in an okay apartment. She doesn't live in the slums, but she lives in an okay apartment. It's not super fancy. It doesn't have a swimming pool, but she splits the rent with her roommates. Now they both finished school, but Sally took 1 year longer and had to work through school while Brad did whatever he wanted to. And then boom, the government steps in and hands Brad a check for $100,000 and says, Brad, here you go. All of your loans and your private loans are covered. Everything that you spent over the last 4 years. Sally, I'm sorry, but you only have $20,000 in student loans because you've been paying for them this whole time. You only get a check for $20,000. How is that fair? Now look, I get it. Life's not always fair, and Sally shouldn't be upset just because Brad got forgiven. But that's if the shoe's on the other foot. I promise you, if you're Sally and you're both standing there, and Sally gets the check, you're Sally and you get the check for 20 grand, and Brad gets 100, you're gonna be like, what's up with that? How's that work? Why is that fair? So keep that in mind. Two completely different situations. And I'm not saying who deserves what ultimately. I'm just saying in a fairness standpoint, I think Sally got ripped off in this scenario. Also keep in mind that the wealthy take advantage of this system. Remember, you can go to school for 4 years and then all the interest in the loan is set back depending on which loan you get, but the majority of people are getting the government loan. The interest and the loan does not take place until 6 months after you graduate. Let's say I'm wealthy, okay? And let's say I send my kid off to school. I could pay for his school up front, and I could pay the 50 grand up front. Let's just call it 50 grand. I could pay that up front, or I could let the government step in, give him a loan for 50 grand. Meanwhile, I keep my 50 grand that I could have paid, and I go invest that. And I make 5, 10, 15% interest with that money while my son's living off the government. Is that fair? But keep in mind, there's people out there doing that. Now let's go into the people that don't even use their degree. Let's say we can go back to Brad. Let's say Brad gets that $100,000 from the government and he doesn't even use the degree. Now our taxpayer dollars just paid $100,000 for Brad to chill for 4 years in a very nice college, in a very nice town, in a very nice apartment, driving a very nice car, and he didn't even use the degree and give back to us in the way in which we hoped he would. Say he doesn't do anything with his life. We've seen a lot of people do this. And now the taxpayer just paid for Brad to do nothing. So you see, this gets a little lopsided, and really one size fits all won't work. And when you just say, forgive everybody's debt. But I got a couple more examples. My next one is the parents. What about the parents that saved for 10, 15, 20 years for their kid to go off to college, and they took pride in that, and they worked extra shifts, and they saved, and they skipped vacations, and they lived below their means to provide for their kid to go to college, and they spent all that money, the kid goes to college, and then the next year, all debt's free anyway, all student loans are forgiven. What was all that for? It's very sad to see that. Like, they worked really hard and took a lot of pride in doing that for their child, and come to find out their neighbor who did all the wrong things, spent all their money and lived above their means and bought the new cars and the houses and the credit cards, their kid also goes to college for free. Man, that's tough for me to swallow. Again, I know that not all life is fair, and sometimes it just works out that way. And the other kid, the one with the parents that did not save, he shouldn't be punished either. But it's really tough to watch that. And that's another thing that I want you guys to consider when saying forgive everybody's debts. The last one I'm going to talk about is the savers themselves. Now, this is the category my wife and I do fit in, so I tend to be a little bit biased in this one. But what about the people that work for 5, 10 years and saved all of their money and paid for it themselves and put themselves through college and lived well below their means, had roommates, drove old cars, had old TVs. I'm looking over here right now. This TV right here is 12 years old. My wife and I got it when we met. 12-year-old TV. And we still live like that just because we have learned to adapt to that type of lifestyle and just live below our means anyway. But what about those people that made all those sacrifices and took a lot of pride in putting themselves through school, and meanwhile, the government just steps in and says, oh, all debt's free. I know you just spent $105,000. That's what my wife and I just spent. $105,000 on school, not to include the bachelor's degree. Sorry, but we're going to give everybody else theirs and you get nothing for all of that. That's hard to watch. Look, I'm not upset if the other people do get debt forgiveness. I have empathy for them. But please have empathy for us as well, that we would get nothing for all of our hard work and sacrifice. And when you say forgive all debt, That's kind of what you're saying. It's like, screw the people that did the right thing and just give me mine. So when you're saying that to us, the people are saying do not do debt forgiveness, and saying have empathy for you, make sure you have it the other way around as well. Lastly, and this isn't a hard one to hear, but it's the truth, you probably would just replace that loan that got forgiven with another loan. In fact, almost all Americans have a car loan, a home loan, and student loans. So it's not like if that one got forgiven or never happened that you would not be in debt. In fact, you probably would just go out and buy something else. And you might argue with me, but I would argue back that statistics show that I am correct in this argument. Americans and America love to buy things before we can afford them. So I could argue, okay, well, if you think student loans should be forgiven, why don't we just argue mortgages? Mortgages are also given out to the young people that do not know any better yet, and they're actually much, much more. They're spread out over a longer period of time, but they cost a lot more money. The average American debt for a mortgage is $200,000, while the average student loan debt is only $32,000. An even better comparison would be an auto loan. The average new loan for an automobile is $32,000, just like your student loan. So the problem really becomes is when you compound all of these loans. So now you have a home loan, a student loan, and a car loan, and you're just blaming the student loan. Sure, the student loan doesn't help, but it's not the actual problem. And I'm going to get into how we fix this going forward. So my solution, and keep in mind all of this is just my opinion. My opinion. It doesn't have to be everybody else's. But my solution for this is in two parts. The first one being financial education both in the school system and at home. Look, a lot of you could blame your parents for your student loans, and then they would blame their parents and so on. And really what it came down to is nobody taught their parents and their parents and their parents, so your parents didn't teach you. Now, I could argue that it is your responsibility as a parent to learn as much as possible to protect your children, but you'll probably all get mad at me and comment down in the section that I'm saying that you're not good parents. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you need to be financially educated when you have children so that you can teach them, as well as yourself, how to behave with money and how to avoid the exact scenario that some of our kids are in right now where they cannot afford their student loans. I would love to get on stage at various schools. In fact, if you're a school teacher or a principal, can get me on stage at your school. I would love to teach your children how to financially prepare for the future and become financially independent. I would love nothing more than that. I know it's controversial. You might have to get parents to sign off on it, but I would love to do that. Sorry I went off on a little tangent, but I really would. The next solution is wait. Did he say wait? Yeah, I said wait. Wait to go to college. Look, I know it's instilled in our society that you have to buy a home right now, buy a car right now, go to college right now, but push all that away. No, you do not. You can wait. In fact, other countries take what is called a gap year and they go travel for a year. This is really popular in Canada and I love it. I think that if everybody took 1 year off from college, you would see college attendance drop dramatically because people would take that year and go discover what they truly like to do instead of just guessing what they want to be at 17 or 18 years old. So I think if people did that, they would, one, be certain of what they want to do with when they go to college. So when they go to college, they actually stick with it and don't drop out after 2 years with $30,000 in debt. And then they would actually get out into society and do that and produce results and give us that ROI that we'd like to see as a country from helping people with their college loans. Also, I would argue, and Gary Vee did a good video on this the other day, that you would discover yourself and become much more rounded as a person if you traveled for 1 year after high school. Or just take that year and go do some type of job that you are interested in and make sure that that's the job you want to do before committing 4 years of your life and $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in student loans to that degree, and now you're stuck in a degree or in a job you hate, paying off a student loan that you were not prepared for financially, and now you hate life. Because this is what I see too much, and this is why everybody's upset and wants their student loan forgiven, when all it took was a little bit of patience and a little bit of education, and all of this could have been avoided. Okay, I think this video is getting probably way too long, so I'm going to end it there. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section. I'm scared to read them. I feel like you guys are going to go crazy on me, but this is just my opinion. And again, I do have empathy for everybody. I just don't think that mass debt forgiveness is the answer. I think mass education is. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I'll do more videos like this in the future. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.